Death is supposed to be unavoidable. Every living thing follows the same rule: grow, age, die. But what if that rule was never absolute? Across 10 real animals, nature has evolved ways to freeze solid and revive, regenerate entire bodies, outlive civilizations, and even reverse aging itself. We're counting down from creatures that cheat death for a single season to one that may have eliminated it altogether. Starting at number 10, a small frog buried beneath the frozen forest floor, with no heartbeat, no breath, and no sign of life. In the 10th place, deep beneath the frozen leaf litter of the North American subarctic, sits an animal that spends the winter as a solid block of ice. The wood frog does not merely hibernate, it allows nearly 70% of its body water to freeze. In this state, its heart stops beating, its breathing ceases, detectable brain activity fades to almost nothing. To any observer, this creature is clinically dead. Yet, it does not decay. The secret lies in a rapid biochemical transition, triggered the moment ice touches its skin. Within minutes of ice nucleation, the frog's liver floods its bloodstream with a massive surge of glucose, increasing concentrations over 100-fold. This sugar acts as a natural cellular antifreeze, preventing ice crystals from piercing and destroying cell membranes. While other creatures on our list reverse aging or regenerate limbs, this frog survives a seasonal physical crisis. When spring arrives, it thaws from the inside out, restoring circulation and neural activity within hours. Scientists study this precise cryoprotectant chemistry, hoping to translate these natural preservation mechanics to human organs, proving that a body appearing dead is sometimes just waiting for the right temperature to wake up. Number 9. In the microscopic films of water clinging to forest mosses and high-altitude lichens, a tiny habitat constantly threatens to dry up. To survive, an organism barely half a millimeter long has learned to step completely outside of active biology. This is the tardigrade. When its damp environment evaporates, it triggers a metabolic shutdown known as cryptobiosis. The tardigrade contracts its body into a compact, dried cylinder called a ton, losing 99% of its water. Inside its cells, specialized proteins called CAHS work with protective sugars to form a glass-like matrix. This molecular glass encases and stabilizes delicate cellular structures, dropping the animal's metabolism to less than 1/100% of normal. In this vitrified state, it becomes virtually indestructible. During the 2007 Photon M3 satellite mission, thousands of dehydrated tardigrades were exposed to the vacuum and ionizing radiation of low Earth orbit for 12 days. Upon their return, simple rehydration brought them back to active life, where they fed and reproduced. This suspended animation is not active survival in space, but a temporary pause of life itself, a biological state that researchers are now studying to design dry-state vaccine storage and radiation-resistant biomaterials. 8th place. High on the volcanic slopes of an isolated equatorial archipelago, the ground itself seems to move with slow, deliberate intent. This is the domain of the Galapagos giant tortoise. While many animals burn through their biological reserves in a few short years, this reptile operates on an entirely different timeline, commonly living well past a century. Some documented individuals have approached 190 years, meaning a single life can span across multiple human generations. Their endurance is partially linked to an exceptionally slow metabolic rate, but the real secret lies hidden within their DNA. Genetic studies show that these tortoises possess extra copies of genes dedicated to DNA repair, tumor suppression, and proteostasis, the cellular mechanism that prevents proteins from misfolding and degrading over decades. Their cells constantly repair molecular damage before it can turn into disease. Scientists study this biological blueprint to understand how cells can survive for generations without failing. Yet, this extreme longevity is not absolute immunity. While they have evolved advanced cellular defenses against cancer and tissue decay, they remain vulnerable to physical injury, hunger, and habitat destruction. For these giants, a century is only one chapter in a long, quiet life. Number 7. In the crushing, pitch-black depths of the Arctic Ocean, where temperatures hover near freezing, hangs a massive, slow-moving shadow. This is the Greenland shark, the longest-lived vertebrate on Earth. To discover how long these predators survive, scientists bypassed their cartilage skeletons and looked directly into their eyes. The proteins at the very center of the shark's eye lens are formed in infancy and remain chemically locked for the rest of its life, serving as a biological timestamp. By measuring radiocarbon levels in these lenses, using mid-century atmospheric nuclear tests as a chronological baseline, researchers calculated an astonishing chronology. The largest specimen carried an estimated age of nearly 400 years, with a baseline range spanning up to 5 centuries. These silent giants glide through the abyssal waters for 150 years before they even reach sexual maturity. Some individuals alive today were swimming in the dark years before the Industrial Revolution. Their survival is linked to an incredibly slow metabolism and highly stable proteins, adapted to minimize cellular wear and tear in the freezing cold. While the exact molecular key to their longevity remains under investigation, they prove that vertebrate life can endure across centuries, quietly outlasting human civilizations. 6th place. Down in the absolute darkness of the southern polar ocean, anchored to the frozen continental shelf of Antarctica, lies an ecosystem locked in a permanent sub-zero freeze. Here, where life operates in slow motion, sits the Antarctic glass sponge. This creature does not build its body from flesh, but from silica, weaving a rigid skeletal lattice of pure glass. Living in water that never warms, its metabolism is so minimal that its physical growth is almost imperceptible, often expanding by less than half a millimeter each year. This glacial pace makes measuring its age incredibly difficult. Rather than direct dating, scientists must rely on growth rate models and skeletal analysis. These calculations suggest that some larger specimens have persisted on the seafloor for well over 1,000 years, with certain extrapolations reaching into several millennia. While claims of these sponges filtering thousands of liters of seawater daily require cautious verification, their physical structures are undeniable historical archives. Locked within their glass needles is a chemical record of ancient oceans, preserving centuries of temperature and nutrient data. Yet, this slow-motion life comes with a severe vulnerability. Any physical disturbance to these fragile glass towers takes centuries to recover, leaving them highly sensitive to oceanic changes. At this scale, animal life ceases to look like biology and begins to resemble a geological record. Number 5. Far beneath the sunlit surface of the Pacific Ocean, on the silent, cold slopes of the Hawaiian archipelago, lies a pitch-black abyss where life moves at a near glacial pace. Here, anchored to the rocky seafloor, sits an organism that resembles a dry, branching tree, yet is entirely animal. This is the black coral, Leiopathes anosa. Its skeletal framework expands by only a few micrometers each year, a rate of growth almost imperceptible to human time. Using high-resolution uranium-thorium dating on its skeletal growth bands, scientists discovered that these living structures have persisted for over 4,000 years. These colonies were already ancient when the pyramids of Giza were being constructed, outlasting entire human civilizations in absolute darkness. Because they grow so slowly, their rigid skeletons act as high-resolution geochemical archives, preserving a pristine chemical record of ancient ocean temperatures and nutrient shifts across millennia. However, this survival is a collective effort. The dated structure represents a continuous, self-cloning colony of tiny polyps, rather than a single, unchanged body remaining alive for 40 centuries. This fragile existence is highly vulnerable. A single physical impact from bottom trawling destroys centuries of growth in seconds, with recovery taking millennia. But this millennial persistence raises a different biological question. If the physical framework of life is fractured, can a damaged body completely rebuild itself from its own ruins? In the fourth place, hidden within the dark, sediment-heavy waters of Mexico's ancient Xochimilco canal systems, exists a creature that remains in its larval form throughout its life. This is the axolotl. When a typical vertebrate loses a limb, the body rushes to seal the wound, creating thick, fibrous scar tissue that permanently halts regrowth. But this salamander operates under a different biological directive. If it loses a leg, a tail, heart tissue, or even portions of its brain and spinal cord, it does not scar. Instead, the wound heals cleanly within hours. Connective tissue fibroblasts reprogram themselves, reverting to a stem-like state to form a temporary cell mass called a blastema. This cellular factory coordinates the reconstruction of nerves, blood vessels, muscles, and skin, patterning them in the exact original arrangement. Injury acts as a precise blueprint for rebuilding rather than a path to permanent scarring. Scientists are analyzing these signaling networks to translate these regenerative mechanics to human wound care and cardiac repair. Yet, this extraordinary self-repair has clear limits. It does not protect the salamander from disease, hunger, or habitat destruction, and it remains vulnerable to ordinary mortality. For the axolotl, survival is a masterpiece of architectural repair, proving that a broken body can rebuild itself from its own blueprint. Number 3. In the quiet shallows of freshwater streams, clinging to the undersides of decaying leaves, lives an organism that defies the very definition of an individual. This is the planarian flatworm. Slice this creature into multiple pieces, and instead of dying, each fragment begins to reorganize. Within 2 weeks, every single piece will reconstruct a fully functional head, brain, eyes, and digestive system, transforming into a complete, independent worm. This is not simple wound healing. It is whole-body reconstruction. The engine behind this survival is a pool of pluripotent adult stem cells called neoblasts, which make up roughly 20% of the flatworm's body. Unlike human stem cells, which lock into specific roles early in life, these cells remain infinitely programmable, ready to become any tissue on demand. Experiments prove that a fragment as tiny as 1/279th of the worm's original size contains enough biological instructions to rebuild an entire animal. As the tissue repairs, chemical signals establish a new head-to-tail axis, mapping out where the new organs must grow. This cellular plasticity allows the flatworm to escape aging and physical trauma, effectively granting it immortality under the knife. For researchers, these flatworms are a living library of cellular instruction, offering clues on how to regenerate damaged human tissues without scarring. Yet it raises a haunting biological mystery. When one life is severed into multiple surviving pieces, which fragment holds the original identity and which becomes someone else entirely? In second place, hidden in the quiet currents of freshwater streams and sunlit ponds, clings a tiny organism resembling a microscopic, translucent tube with drifting tentacles. This is the Hydra. Most animals experience a predictable cellular decline as chronological time passes, but this simple creature bypasses that fate through constant self-replacement. It possesses 3 distinct stem cell lineages: ectodermal, endodermal, and interstitial, that divide without pause. Every 20 to 30 days, the Hydra completely replaces its entire cellular makeup, essentially rebuilding its body from the inside out. This constant turnover acts as a biological filter, actively shedding damaged or mutated cells, while fresh progenitors take their place. Under controlled laboratory conditions, free from starvation and environmental stress, the Hydra demonstrates negligible senescence. Its mortality rate does not increase with age, and its reproductive budding remains constant over years of observation. Scientists studying these flat mortality curves have identified the FOXO gene as a primary driver of this longevity, regulating stem cell proliferation and stress resistance. This allows researchers to separate chronological time from actual biological decay, offering precious clues for preserving human tissue health and slowing our own degeneration. Yet, this stability has clear limits. Negligible senescence is not absolute invulnerability. Wild populations still succumb to predators, freezing, and starvation. The Hydra can maintain its cellular blueprint indefinitely, but it cannot reverse its adult form. This continuous maintenance makes biological aging almost invisible, leaving researchers with a profound question. If an animal can successfully pause its biological clock, is it possible to actually rewind it? And finally, in first place, drifting through the temperate coastal waters of the world's oceans is a creature barely the size of a fingernail. This animal lacks a brain, a skeletal system, or a heart, yet it has achieved what no other species on Earth can match. This is Turritopsis dohrnii, the immortal jellyfish. Most creatures follow an irreversible trajectory from birth to maturity, decay, and death. But when this tiny medusa faces starvation, physical trauma, or environmental crisis, it bypasses death by triggering a developmental reversal. It sinks to the seafloor, reabsorbs its tentacles, and transforms its mature bell back into a sphere of undifferentiated tissue. Through transdifferentiation, its specialized adult cells reprogram themselves, converting directly into entirely different cell types. It becomes a polyp once more, returning to an early juvenile colony stage from which new medusae spawn. It has rewound its biological clock to the very beginning. It holds the ultimate rank because it is the only known organism that can reverse an entire adult life stage, a cycle it can potentially repeat indefinitely under suitable conditions. Though vulnerable to predators, disease, and pollution, it remains biologically exempt from unavoidable age-based death. Scientists study this cellular reprogramming, searching for the molecular keys to tissue rejuvenation. For millions of years, evolution has been running experiments on life itself. Some creatures learned to survive impossible worlds. Others learned to rebuild themselves. A few learned to outlive civilizations, and one discovered a way to begin life again. Perhaps death was never a single rule, only another challenge that nature keeps trying to solve. And somewhere, in the darkest oceans, the oldest forests, and the smallest drops of water, those experiments are still alive. Across all 10 creatures, one truth becomes clear. Death was never an absolute rule. It is merely another challenge nature keeps trying to solve. For millions of years, evolution has run silent experiments on life itself, rebuilding, reversing, and resetting. And somewhere in the darkest oceans, those experiments are still alive. Which organism surprised you most? Share your thoughts below.